The first shot rang out just as Owen Irwin reined his horse to a stop atop the dusty ridge overlooking Silverstone Creek. The second bullet whistled past his ear, sending his hat flying into the red dirt behind him. By the third shot, he was already flat against his gelding's neck, spurring the animal into a gallop down the slope toward the safety of the riverbed. A distant voice carried on the wind, angry, vengeful, familiar. The year was 1877, and Owen Irwin, once the fastest draw in Sweetwater County, Wyoming Territory, was now simply a man trying to outrun his past. That past had just caught up to him again. Owen slid from his horse behind a stand of cottonwoods, drawing his Colt revolver as he peered back up the ridge. No movement caught his eye, but he knew better than to assume his pursuer had given up. 4 years of running had taught him patience. "Reckon we lost him, Rusty," Owen whispered to his copper-colored horse, patting the animal's sweat-slicked neck. The horse nickered softly in response, as if understanding the gravity of their situation. "Let's wait here a spell." As dusk fell over the Wyoming plains, Owen made a small, smokeless fire and warmed a tin of beans. His weathered face, once handsome despite the scar running from his left eye to his jawline, now appeared haggard in the firelight. His beard, once trimmed and neat, had grown wild during his years on the move. At 35, Owen looked a decade older than his years. He hadn't always been running. Once he'd had a life in Clearwater, a small settlement 200 miles east, a wife named Sarah, beautiful and kind, and a daughter, Lily. His chest tightened at the thought of her, 5 years old when he'd left, 9 now if his calculations were correct. Owen pulled a worn photograph from his saddlebag. A little girl with bright eyes and a gap-toothed smile stared back at him. The edges were frayed from countless nights of him studying it by firelight, trying to imagine what she looked like now. Whether she remembered him at all. "I'm coming home, Lily," he whispered to the photograph. "I promise." Sleep didn't come easily, but when it did, Owen dreamed of Clearwater, of Sarah, and of the day everything changed. Morning arrived with a clarity that only comes in the high country. Owen broke camp quickly, checking his ammunition and provisions. 6 bullets in his revolver, another 12 in his belt. Food for 3 more days. Water was plentiful thanks to the creek. If he pushed hard, he could reach Clearwater in 4 days, 5 at most. The problem wasn't the journey, it was what awaited him at the end. Sarah had died 2 years ago. Consumption, according to the letter that had found him in a saloon in Colorado. The letter, sent by the town's schoolteacher Viola Porter, had been brief but kind. Sarah was gone. Lily was staying with Viola temporarily, but the arrangement couldn't last. Did Owen intend to come for his daughter? Owen had written back immediately. Yes, he was coming. But first he needed to settle an old score. Now, as he mounted Rusty and pointed the horse eastward, Owen knew his past was closing in from 2 directions. Behind him, Victor Blackstone, the man whose brother Owen had killed in a shootout. Ahead, a daughter he barely knew and had no idea how to talk to. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd faced down gunslingers, rustlers, and even a Sioux war party once. But the thought of sitting across from 9-year-old Lily Irwin filled him with more dread than all those dangers combined. "One problem at a time," he muttered, scanning the horizon behind him one last time before nudging Rusty into a steady trot. For 2 days, Owen rode without incident, stopping only to rest his horse and catch a few hours of sleep. The landscape gradually transformed from the rugged mountains of western Wyoming to the rolling prairie of the eastern territories. Game was plentiful, and he supplemented his provisions with rabbit and prairie chicken. On the 3rd evening, as he made camp beside a small tributary of the North Platte River, Owen sensed he wasn't alone. He continued his normal routine, tending to Rusty, gathering firewood, setting coffee to boil, all while keeping his revolver within easy reach. As darkness fell, he deliberately moved away from the fire, allowing his eyes to adjust to the darkness. The attack came swiftly. A figure lunged from behind a boulder, tackling Owen to the ground. The assailant was smaller than expected, wiry but strong. Owen rolled, breaking the grip, and sprang to his feet with his gun drawn. "Step into the light," Owen commanded, his voice steady despite the racing of his heart. The figure remained in shadow. "You don't remember me, do you, Irwin?" It wasn't Blackstone's voice. This one was younger with an accent Owen couldn't place. "Can't say that I do," Owen replied, keeping his gun trained on the shadowy figure. "But attacking a man at his campfire ain't the proper way to make introductions." A bitter laugh. "Proper, that's rich coming from you." The figure stepped forward, revealing a young man, perhaps 25, with a face that stirred something in Owen's memory. "Name's Jamie Tucker," the man said. "You killed my pa in Laramie 8 years ago." Owen's memory flashed to a saloon in Laramie, a card game, accusations of cheating. A man drawing on him. "Your pa drew first," Owen said quietly. "I was defending myself." "That's not how I heard it," Tucker snarled. "You were cheating. He called you on it. You shot him down like a dog." Owen slowly lowered his gun, though he remained alert. "I've never cheated at cards, son." "Your pa was drunk, lost his money fair, and couldn't accept it. I'm sorry for what happened, but I won't apologize for staying alive." Tucker's hand hovered over his own pistol. "I've been tracking you for months. Heard you were heading east. Figured I'd catch up to you before you disappeared again." "I'm not disappearing," Owen said. "I'm going home to my daughter." Something flickered in Tucker's eyes. "You got a daughter? 9 years old. Haven't seen her in 4 years. Tucker seemed to waver. "My ma died waiting for pa to come home. She never knew what happened to him until I was old enough to find out." Owen holstered his gun slowly. "I can't bring your pa back, but I can tell you what happened that night, the full truth. Then you can decide if you still want to kill me." For a long moment, Tucker stood frozen, his hand still near his pistol. Finally, he nodded. "Talk," Owen gestured to the fire. "Let's sit. Coffee's almost ready." As the night deepened, Owen recounted the events in Laramie, how Tucker's father had been losing steadily, drinking heavily. How the man had become convinced Owen was cheating, despite the dealer's assurances otherwise. How Tucker SR had drawn his gun first, firing a shot that missed Owen by inches. "I didn't want to kill him," Owen finished. "I aimed for his arm, but he moved at the last second. The bullet hit him in the chest. He died before the doctor arrived." Jamie Tucker stared into the fire, silent. Finally, he looked up. "My whole life I've been planning to kill the man who murdered my pa, built it up in my head. And now, I don't know." Tucker rubbed his face. "You're not what I expected." "Few things are," Owen replied. "Look, you can still try to kill me if that's what you feel is right, but I'd rather not die before I see my daughter again. And I'd rather not have to shoot my would-be killer twice in one lifetime." A strangled laugh escaped Tucker. "You'd let me ride away, just like that?" "With one condition," Owen said. "Your hunt for me ends tonight. Whatever you decide to do, this is finished between us." Tucker studied Owen's face in the firelight, searching for deception. Finding none, he slowly nodded. "I need to think. I'll give you my answer in the morning." Dawn broke with a heavy mist clinging to the riverbank. Owen, who had slept lightly with one eye open, rose to find Jamie Tucker already awake, tending the fire. "Made coffee," Tucker said, not looking up. Owen poured himself a cup, the rich aroma a welcome comfort. "And have you made your decision?" Tucker nodded slowly. "My pa wasn't a perfect man. Ma used to say he had a temper, especially when he drank." He paused. "I've been carrying this hate for so long, I don't know what I am without it." "You're young," Owen said. "You'll figure it out." Tucker finally met Owen's gaze. "I'm heading south. Got an uncle in New Mexico territory, promised him I'd help with his ranch." He stood, extending his hand. "Our business is done, Irwin." Owen shook the young man's hand, relief washing over him. "Safe travels, Tucker." As Jamie Tucker rode away, Owen felt a weight lift from his shoulders. One ghost from his past laid to rest, but the most important challenge still lay ahead. By midday of the 5th day, the familiar outlines of Clearwater appeared on the horizon. The small settlement had grown in Owen's absence. New buildings lined what was now a proper main street. and a church steeple rose above the town. Owen approached cautiously, aware of the stares his arrival would elicit. Clearwater had never been a particularly welcoming place, even when he'd lived there. As the local lawman, Owen had made his share of enemies among the townspeople who preferred to handle disputes their own way. It was part of why he'd left that, and the bounty Blackstone had put on his head after the shootout that killed his brother. Owen dismounted outside the general store, tying Rusty to the hitching post. His eyes scanned the street nervously. 4 years was a long time, but not long enough for some memories to fade. Well, I'll be. A voice called from the store's porch. Owen Irwin, back from the dead. Owen turned to see Henry Miller, the store owner and one of the few men in town he'd counted as a friend. Henry was older now, his hair completely gray, but his smile was genuine as he approached. "Not dead yet, Henry," Owen replied, clasping the older man's hand. "Though not for lack of trying on some folks' part," Henry chuckled. "You looking healthier than expected for a man who's been on the run. What brings you back to these parts? Thought you'd be halfway to California by now." Owen's expression sobered. "Heard about Sarah, I'm here for Lily." Henry's smile faded. "Ah, of course." He glanced up and down the street before lowering his voice. "She's with Miss Porter, the school teacher. Has been since Sarah passed. Miss Porter's been good to her." "Where can I find them?" "School's out for the day. Miss Porter has a small house at the edge of town, past the church. White picket fence, blue door." Henry paused. "Owen, you should know, things have changed." Owen frowned. "How do you mean, Lily?" "She took Sarah's passing hard, and she was young when you left. She might not." "Remember me," Owen finished, the words like stones in his stomach. Henry nodded sympathetically. "Miss Porter will help. She's a good woman, patient, has a way with children." Owen thanked his old friend and remounted Rusty. As he rode toward the edge of town, anxiety gnawed at him. What would he say to his daughter? What could possibly explain his absence? And what if she rejected him outright? The house was exactly as Henry had described, modest but well kept, with a white picket fence surrounding a small yard where wildflowers grew in cheerful profusion. The blue door stood out against the whitewashed walls. Owen tied Rusty to the fence post and approached, his heart hammering in his chest. Before he could knock, the door opened. A woman stood there, tall and slender, with auburn hair pulled back in a practical bun. She wore a simple blue dress, and her eyes, sharp and assessing, took in Owen's appearance with a glance. "Mr. Irwin," she said, neither a question nor a greeting. "I wondered if you would come." "Miss Porter," Owen removed his hat. "I got your letter. I came as soon as I could." Viola Porter studied him a moment longer before stepping aside. "Please, come in. Lily is in the garden out back." Owen entered the small but tidy home. Books lined one wall, and a desk in the corner suggested Miss Porter brought her teaching work home. The furniture was simple but comfortable looking. "Would you like some coffee?" she asked, her tone formal but not unkind. "Thank you, madam." While Viola prepared the coffee, Owen remained standing, hat in hand, unsure of his place in this orderly home. Through the back window, he caught a glimpse of movement, a small figure in a blue dress, kneeling by a flower bed. Lily. His daughter. His heart constricted. "She's grown," he said quietly. Viola returned with 2 cups of coffee. "Children tend to do that, Mr. Irwin." The subtle rebuke was not lost on Owen. "Miss Porter, I appreciate what you've done for my daughter, taking her in after Sarah, after my wife passed." "Lily is a wonderful child," Viola said, softening slightly. "It has been a privilege to care for her, but she needs her father." Owen stared down at his coffee. "I don't know if I can be what she needs." Viola's eyebrow arched. "And yet you came." "I did." "May I ask why you left in the first place?" Owen considered deflecting the question but decided against it. This woman had cared for his child for 2 years. She deserved honesty. "A man named Blackstone put a bounty on my head. His brother drew on me during a dispute I was mediating as deputy. I shot him. Self-defense, but Blackstone didn't see it that way. He swore he'd kill me and anyone close to me. I left to lead him away from Sarah and Lily." Viola absorbed this, her expression neutral. And now, I've been running for 4 years. Doesn't seem like Blackstone is giving up, but I can't keep running forever. I need to face him, end this one way or another. Owen met Viola's gaze. But first, I need to see my daughter. Viola studied him for a long moment before nodding. You should know, Mr. Irwin, that Lily has questions, many questions, about you, about why you left. I've told her what I knew, which wasn't much. Owen nodded, a lump forming in his throat. What? What has she been told about me? That you were a lawman, that you had to leave to protect her and her mother, that you loved them very much. Viola's eyes softened slightly. I never wanted her to think her father abandoned her by choice. Gratitude washed over Owen. Thank you for that. Viola set down her cup. Mr. Irwin, before I take you to Lily, there's something you should know. She's reserved, especially with men. After losing both parents, she's built walls. She won't be easy to reach. Owen's shoulders slumped. I don't know how to talk to her, Miss Porter. I barely knew her before I left, and now. To his surprise, Viola smiled, a gentle expression that transformed her serious face. Start with hello, Mr. Irwin. She'll do the rest. The simplicity of the advice struck Owen. Start with hello. Perhaps it really could be that simple. Are you ready to meet your daughter? Viola asked. Owen nodded, unable to speak past the emotion clogging his throat. Viola led him through the house to the back door. She stepped out first. Lily, there's someone here to see you. The small figure in the garden stood, brushing dirt from her dress. When she turned, Owen's breath caught. She had Sarah's eyes, wide and blue, but his own stubborn chin. Her brown hair hung in 2 braids and freckles dusted her nose. Lily looked at Owen without recognition, then glanced questioningly at Viola. Lily, Viola said gently, this is your father. The girl stilled, her eyes widening as they returned to Owen's face. She didn't smile or run to him. Instead, she simply stared, as if trying to reconcile this stranger with whatever memories or stories she had of her father. Owen swallowed hard, Viola's advice echoing in his mind. Start with hello. He took a step forward, crouched down to be at Lily's eye level, and removed his hat. Hello, Lily, he said, his voice rough with emotion. I'm your pa. Lily continued to study him, her expression unreadable. Finally, in a small, clear voice, she asked, Are you staying this time? The question pierced Owen's heart. Yes, he answered firmly. I'm staying. Lily considered this, then nodded once, accepting his word with a child's simple faith. I'm planting marigolds, she said. Mama liked marigolds. She did, Owen agreed, surprised and touched that Lily remembered this detail about Sarah. She planted them every spring. Miss Porter says I have her eyes but your smile. Lily's expression remained serious. I don't remember if that's true. Owen smiled despite the pain her words caused. Why don't I stay a while and you can decide for yourself? Lily seemed to accept this proposal. You can help with the marigolds if you want, she offered, the closest thing to welcome he was likely to get. I'd like that very much. As Owen knelt in the garden beside his daughter, awkwardly following her instructions on how to plant the bright orange flowers, he was acutely aware of Viola Porter watching from the back step. Her face held a mixture of concern and hope, concern for Lily, perhaps hope for Owen. Miss Porter says you were a lawman, Lily said suddenly, patting soil around a seedling. I was, Owen confirmed, a deputy in Clearwater. Did you catch bad guys? Owen smiled slightly. Sometimes. Mostly I just helped folks who were having disagreements. Lily considered this. Like when Billy Tanner and I fought over the swing at school and Miss Porter had to decide who was right. Something like that, Owen agreed, charmed by her comparison. Miss Porter said you had to go away to keep Mama and me safe from a bad man. Lily's voice was matter of fact, but her eyes, when they met his, held questions. Is he still after you? Owen hesitated, looking up at Viola, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. No lies, her expression seemed to say. Yes, Owen answered honestly, but I'm going to take care of that problem. How? Owen considered how to explain this to a 9-year-old. I'm going to talk to him, try to make peace. And if he doesn't want peace, Owen met his daughter's astute gaze, then I'll make sure he can't hurt us. Lily nodded, accepting this answer. Good. She handed him another seedling. This one goes there. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the garden, Viola called Lily in to wash up for dinner. The girl went obediently, casting one last glance at Owen. Will you come back tomorrow? She asked, her voice carefully neutral as if bracing herself for disappointment. I'll be here, Owen promised. When Lily had gone inside, Viola approached Owen as he stood and dusted off his knees. You did well, she said. She's cautious, but she's curious about you. She's smart, Owen observed, sees right through things. Yes, Viola agreed. She gets that from her mother. Owen nodded, remembering Sarah's uncanny ability to read people. Miss Porter, I can't thank you enough for taking care of her, for preserving her memory of me, even when you had no reason to think well of me yourself. Viola's expression softened. Children need to believe in their parents, Mr. Irwin, even when those parents fall short. She paused. Will you join us for dinner? The invitation surprised him. I don't want to impose, you aren't imposing. You're Lily's father, Viola smiled slightly. Besides, it seems we have things to discuss about Lily's future. Owen realized she was right. He'd come to Clearwater to reclaim his daughter, but he hadn't thought beyond that moment. Where would they live? How would he support her? And what about the threat still hanging over them? Thank you, he said. I'd be honored to join you for dinner. The meal was simple but delicious roast chicken, potatoes, and fresh peas from Viola's garden. Lily watched Owen curiously throughout, asking occasional questions about his travels, carefully avoiding the harder topics of why he'd left and where he'd been all this time. After Lily had gone to bed, Viola poured tea for herself and Owen as they sat at the kitchen table. She's warming to you, Viola observed. Slowly, but it's a start. Owen nodded, turning the teacup in his hands. Miss Porter, I have to be honest. I came here intending to take Lily with me to start fresh somewhere Blackstone couldn't find us, but seeing her here with you, she's settled. Happy even after losing her mother. Children are remarkably resilient, Viola said, but Lily needs stability now, Mr. Irwin. She's lost enough. I know, Owen sighed, but Blackstone is still out there. As long as he's hunting me, Lily isn't safe. Viola studied him. Then perhaps that problem needs to be resolved before you make any decisions about Lily's future. Owen raised his eyebrows, surprised by her practical approach. Are you suggesting I go after Blackstone? I'm suggesting you stop running, Viola said firmly. One way or another, this situation needs resolution. Lily deserves a father who isn't looking over his shoulder. And if I don't come back? Owen asked quietly. Viola's eyes didn't waver. Then Lily will remain with me, and I'll make sure she knows her father was a brave man who loved her enough to face his demons. Owen was struck by Viola Porter's strength, her clear-eyed assessment of the situation. Most women would be horrified at the notion of sending a man to potentially face his death, but Viola seemed to understand what was at stake. You're an unusual woman, Miss Porter. A smile ghosted across her lips. I've had an unusual life, Mr. Irwin. Before I came to Clearwater, I traveled with my father, a doctor who treated patients in mining camps and frontier towns across the territories. I've seen what violence and uncertainty do to families. Her expression grew solemn. I've also seen what happens when men face their problems instead of running from them. Owen nodded slowly. Blackstone was last seen in Cheyenne, according to rumors. That's 3 days' ride from here. Then you have a decision to make, Mr. Irwin. Viola rose, gathering their teacups. But I suggest you spend a few days with your daughter first. Let her get to know you before you leave again, even temporarily. Owen agreed. For the next week, he spent his days with Lily, getting to know the thoughtful, observant child his daughter had become. They fished in the creek, worked in the garden, and walked through town together, Owen painfully aware of the curious and sometimes hostile stares from the townspeople who remembered him. Lily gradually opened up to him, sharing stories about her school, her friends, and her memories of Sarah. She never called him Pa, sticking to a careful Mr. Irwin that both respected their blood connection and maintained an emotional distance. Each evening after Lily went to bed, Owen and Viola would sit on the porch or at the kitchen table, discussing Lily's progress and Owen's plans. Despite the gravity of their conversations, Owen found himself looking forward to these quiet moments with the schoolteacher. There was something both comforting and invigorating about Viola's company, her intelligence, her dry wit, her unwavering commitment to Lily's well-being. On the 8th night, as they sat on the porch watching fireflies dance in the gathering darkness, Owen made his decision. "I'm going after Blackstone," he said quietly. "Tomorrow." Viola nodded as if she'd been expecting this. "You'll tell Lily?" "Yes, she deserves the truth." Owen looked over at Viola, her profile illuminated by the soft glow from the kitchen window. "If I don't come back, I'll take care of her," Viola promised, "for as long as she needs me." Owen felt a surge of gratitude toward this remarkable woman who had become his daughter's guardian. "Why did you do it? Taken Lily when Sarah died. You didn't know either of them well." Viola was silent for a long moment. "When your wife fell ill, I visited to bring books for Lily to read. Sarah was extraordinary in her suffering, never complained, always thinking of Lily." She paused. "Near the end, she made me promise to look after Lily until you returned. She never doubted you would come back, Mr. Irwin. Even when others in town spoke ill of you for leaving, Sarah defended you." Emotion tightened Owen's throat. "She was a better person than I deserved." "Perhaps," Viola agreed, but her tone was gentle. "Or perhaps she simply saw what was in your heart beneath the mistakes and the running." Their eyes met in the darkness, and Owen felt something shift between them, a recognition, an understanding. "I should turn in," Viola said, rising. "Tomorrow will be difficult for Lily." Owen nodded. "Miss Porter," he stopped, then started again. "Viola, thank you for everything." She smiled, and in the dim light, Owen thought he saw a faint blush color her cheeks. "Good night, Mr. Irwin." "Owen," he corrected. "Please." "Good night, Owen," she said softly, and disappeared into the house. The next morning, Owen took Lily for a walk by the creek. The girls seemed to sense the gravity of the occasion, staying unusually quiet as they sat on the bank, watching water bugs skitter across the surface. "Lily," Owen began, choosing his words carefully, "I need to go away for a little while." Her face remained impassive, but her small body stiffened. "You promised you'd stay." "I am staying," Owen assured her, "but there's something I need to take care of first." "Remember the bad man I told you about? The one who's been chasing me?" Lily nodded. "I need to face him, make sure he can't hurt us anymore, then I'll come back and we can be a family again." Lily picked at the grass beside her. "What if you don't come back?" "Like Mama didn't come back from being sick." Owen's heart ached at the matter-of-fact way she spoke of Sarah's death. "I'll do everything in my power to come back to you, Lily. I promise." "People make promises they can't keep," Lily said, her young face solemn with hard-earned wisdom. "That's true," Owen acknowledged. "I can't promise nothing bad will happen, but I can promise I'll fight as hard as I can to come back to you." Lily considered this. "When are you leaving?" "Today, after lunch." "Will Miss Porter still take care of me?" "Yes." "And she'll write to me every week to tell me how you're doing." Lily nodded, accepting this. Then, to Owen's surprise, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small object, a polished stone, smooth and round, with streaks of blue running through it. "I found this in the creek last summer," she said, holding it out to him. "Miss Porter says it's a wishing stone. You hold it and think really hard about what you want, and sometimes it comes true." She placed it in his palm. "You should take it, so you remember to come back." Owen closed his fingers around the stone, emotion making it impossible to speak for a moment. Finally, he managed, "Thank you, Lily. I'll keep it with me always." When they returned to the house, Viola had packed a bundle of food for Owen's journey. After lunch, Owen prepared to leave, checking Rusty's saddle and packing his few belongings. Lily watched from the porch, her face composed but her eyes betraying her worry. Viola stood beside her, one hand resting protectively on the girl's shoulder. "I'll send word when I can," Owen told Viola. "Should be in Cheyenne by the end of the week." Viola nodded. "Be careful, Owen. he mounted Rusty, looking down at his daughter and the woman who had become her guardian. An unusual family, fractured and pieced together by circumstance, but a family nonetheless. "Goodbye, Lily," he said. "I'll see you soon." Lily raised her hand in a small wave. "Goodbye, Pa," the word, that simple acknowledgement of their bond, nearly unmanned him. Owen touched the brim of his hat, unable to speak, and turned his horse toward the road leading out of Clearwater. As he rode away, Owen was conscious of the weight of Lily's wishing stone in his pocket, and of the image of Viola Porter standing straight and tall beside his daughter, her auburn hair catching the midday sun. The road to Cheyenne stretched before him, dusty and unforgiving. But for the first time in 4 years, Owen Irwin was riding toward something, not away. The journey to Cheyenne took 3 days, during which Owen had ample time to consider his approach. Victor Blackstone wasn't just any adversary, he was a wealthy cattle baron with connections throughout the territory. Confronting him directly might be suicidal, but Owen was tired of running. Cheyenne had grown since Owen had last visited. The railroad had brought prosperity and new construction to what had once been a rough frontier outpost. Now proper buildings lined the main street, and carriages traveled the muddy roads alongside riders and wagons. Owen stabled Rusty at a livery on the outskirts of town, not wanting to attract attention. He found a modest boarding house where the landlady asked few questions and paid for 3 nights in advance. In his room, he cleaned his revolver and checked his ammunition, then changed into the one decent shirt he'd packed. Information was what he needed first. And in a town like Cheyenne, information flowed freely in the saloons. The Silver Dollar was the largest saloon in town, a 2-story establishment with a reputation for discretion and a clientele that included everyone from cowboys to politicians. Owen entered cautiously, scanning the crowded room before making his way to the bar. The bartender, a burly man with an impressive mustache, raised an eyebrow. "What'll it be, stranger?" "Whiskey," Owen said, placing a coin on the bar, "and some information if you're selling." The bartender poured the drink, sliding it toward Owen. "Depends on what you're buying." "Victor Blackstone, I heard he frequents this establishment." The bartender's expression didn't change, but his eyes narrowed slightly. "Mr. Blackstone is a valued customer. What's your business with him?" "Old acquaintance," Owen said, taking a sip of whiskey. "Hope to catch up." "Uh-huh." The bartender clearly didn't believe him, but wasn't paid to pry. "He comes in most evenings, plays cards in the back room." Owen nodded his thanks and moved to a corner table with his drink, positioning himself to watch the entrance while remaining relatively inconspicuous. As the evening progressed, the saloon filled with the usual crowd: ranch hands spending their wages, gamblers looking for easy marks, women working the room. Owen nursed his whiskey, watching, waiting. Just after 9, a stir at the entrance caught his attention. Victor Blackstone entered, flanked by 2 men who were clearly hired guns. At 50, Blackstone was still an imposing figure, tall, broad-shouldered, with a shock of white hair and a neatly trimmed beard. His clothing spoke of wealth, from his tailored suit to his polished boots. Owen remained in his corner, observing as Blackstone greeted acquaintances and made his way to the back room where high-stakes poker games were played. The 2 gunmen took positions near the door, alert and watchful. This wasn't the time or place for a confrontation. Too many people, too many variables. Owen needed to get Blackstone alone, or at least in a situation where his hired muscle couldn't intervene. Owen finished his drink and left the Silver Dollar, his mind working on a plan. He'd observe Blackstone's habits for a day or 2, look for patterns, find the right opportunity. Back in his boarding house room, Owen sat on the edge of the bed, turning Lily's wishing stone over in his hands. Its smooth surface felt cool against his palm, a tangible reminder of who he was fighting for. For the first time, Owen allowed himself to imagine a future beyond his confrontation with Blackstone. A future with Lily, watching her grow up, being the father she deserved. And unbidden, Viola Porter's face appeared in his mind, her intelligent eyes, her quiet strength, the rare smile that transformed her serious features. Owen tucked the stone back into his pocket. First, he had to survive, then he could think about the future. The next morning, Owen positioned himself across from the hotel where Blackstone was staying. The cattle baron emerged around 10, again with his two shadows. Owen followed at a distance as Blackstone visited his bank, a lawyer's office, and finally a restaurant for lunch. After lunch, Blackstone's routine took an unexpected turn. Rather than returning to his business dealings in town, he ordered his carriage brought around. Owen watched as Blackstone gave instructions to his gunmen, who nodded and headed back toward the hotel. Here was an opportunity. Blackstone, separated from his protection. Owen hurried to the livery, saddled Rusty, and followed the carriage as it left town, heading north. About 2 miles outside Cheyenne, the carriage turned onto a smaller road leading to a large, well-maintained ranch house. Owen reined in at a distance, watching as Blackstone descended from the carriage and was greeted by a middle-aged woman who embraced him warmly. Blackstone had a wife. This was information Owen hadn't known. As he observed, 2 children, a boy of about 12 and a girl perhaps 10, ran from the house to greet Blackstone. The man's stern face softened as he hugged the children. Owen felt a cold knot form in his stomach. Blackstone had a family, just as he did. The parallels were uncomfortably clear. 2 men whose actions had led them to this moment. 2 families caught in the crossfire of their conflict. For a moment, Owen considered turning back, finding another way to resolve the situation. But Blackstone had made it clear over the years that nothing short of Owen's death would satisfy him. There was no running from this confrontation. Owen waited until the family went inside, then circled around to approach the ranch from the back. He left Rusty tethered in a stand of trees and continued on foot, moving cautiously through the tall grass. The ranch house had a wide veranda wrapping around 3 sides. Owen crept close enough to see through the windows into what appeared to be a comfortable sitting room. Blackstone sat in an armchair, the boy on the floor beside him, showing him something, a book or a drawing. The woman and girl were not visible from Owen's position. Owen drew his revolver, checking it one last time, then took a deep breath. He would confront Blackstone now, on his own territory but away from his hired guns. Whatever happened next would end this 4-year chase. He was about to step out from his hiding place when the back door opened, and the young girl ran out onto the veranda, laughing. She was followed by the woman, not Blackstone's wife, as Owen had assumed, but a younger woman, perhaps 30, with a striking resemblance to Blackstone. His daughter, most likely, which would make the children his grandchildren. Owen hesitated, his finger resting alongside the trigger of his gun. Confronting Blackstone now would mean exposing these innocents to violence, just the sort of thing Owen had tried to protect Lily from by leaving Clearwater. Before he could decide on a course of action, the woman looked up, directly at the spot where Owen was concealed. Her eyes widened in alarm. "Father," she called out, grabbing the little girl and pulling her behind her. "There's someone out there." Blackstone appeared in the doorway instantly, a shotgun in his hands. "Who's there?" he demanded. "Show yourself." Owen knew his element of surprise was lost. He could retreat, try again another time, or he could step forward and face Blackstone directly. "It's me, Blackstone," Owen called, rising from his hiding place but keeping his gun pointed at the ground. "Owen Irwin." Blackstone's face transformed with rage. "Irwin," he spat. "You dare come to my family's home?" "I didn't know your family would be here," Owen replied honestly. "I've come to end this between us." "Father, who is this man?" the woman asked, her arms still protectively around the girl. "Go inside, Emily," Blackstone ordered, not taking his eyes off Owen. "Take the children." But now, the woman hesitated only a moment before ushering the children into the house. The boy looked back curiously, but his sister pushed him forward. When they were alone, Blackstone leveled his shotgun at Owen. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't shoot you where you stand, Irwin." Owen kept his revolver pointed downward. Because I didn't come here to fight, Blackstone, I came to talk. Talk. Blackstone's laugh was bitter. After you gunned down my brother. Your brother drew on me first, Owen said evenly. As you well know, it was self-defense, plain and simple. Michael would never have drawn first, Blackstone insisted. He was hot-headed, yes, but not stupid. He was drunk, Owen countered. And he'd lost heavily in a card game earlier that night. Asked me to look the other way while he took his money back from the winner. When I refused, he went for his gun. Blackstone's shotgun didn't waver. You're lying. I'm not. Owen met the older man's gaze steadily. Ask anyone who was in that saloon that night. Jacob Miller, Tom Watts, even the bartender if he's still alive, they all saw what happened. Something flickered in Blackstone's eyes, doubt perhaps. Why come back now after all this time? Because I'm tired of running, Owen said simply. I have a daughter, Blackstone, 9 years old. I've missed 4 years of her life because of this feud. I want it to end. Blackstone's expression hardened again. It ends when you're dead, Irwin. And then what? Owen challenged. Your brother stays dead. My daughter grows up without a father. What's gained? For a long moment, Blackstone didn't respond. Then, unexpectedly, he lowered the shotgun slightly. You have a daughter, Owen nodded. Lily. Her mother, my wife, died 2 years ago, consumption. Another silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Blackstone said, my wife died giving birth to Emily. Michael helped me raise her. She was like a daughter to him as well as a niece. Owen understood then, more clearly, the depth of Blackstone's grief and rage. I'm sorry for your loss, he said quietly. But killing me won't bring Michael back. It will only create another orphan. Blackstone's jaw clenched, the shotgun still gripped tightly in his hands. You've been running for 4 years. Why face me now? Like I said, I'm tired of running, and my daughter needs me. Owen paused. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Blackstone. I'm asking you to end this, for your grandchildren's sake as well as my daughter's. The mention of his grandchildren seemed to reach Blackstone. His eyes flicked toward the house, where faces could be seen peering anxiously through the window. Put your gun on the ground, Blackstone ordered. Owen hesitated only briefly before complying, setting his revolver in the grass at his feet. He straightened, unarmed, facing Blackstone across the yard. You got courage, I'll give you that, Blackstone said grudgingly. Coming here alone, facing me on my own property. Owen remained silent, waiting. Blackstone lowered the shotgun further, though he didn't put it down. I've spent 4 years hunting you, Irwin, hired men to track you across 3 territories. Thought about killing you so often it became a kind of prayer. And now, Owen prompted when Blackstone fell silent. The older man sighed, suddenly looking his age. And now, I'm as tired as you are. He glanced again at the house, at the faces of his daughter and grandchildren. Emily's been after me to let it go, says Michael wouldn't want his death to poison the rest of our lives. Hope stirred in Owen's chest. She sounds like a wise woman. She is, Blackstone agreed, takes after her mother that way. He studied Owen's face. Your daughter, what's she like? Smart, Owen said. Serious. Looks like her mother but has my stubbornness. A ghost of a smile touched Blackstone's lips. God help you then. The tension in the air had shifted, not disappeared but transformed into something less volatile. Blackstone finally lowered the shotgun completely, letting it hang at his side. I can't promise I'll ever forgive you for Michael, he said gruffly, but I'm calling off the hunt. No more bounties, no more hired guns. We're done. Relief flooded through Owen, so intense he felt lightheaded. Thank you, Blackstone nodded once curtly. Now get off my property, Irwin, and if our paths ever cross again. They won't, Owen promised. I'm heading back to Clearwater, planning to stay there with my daughter. Good. Blackstone turned toward the house, then paused. Irwin? Yes. Tell your daughter. Tell her I'm sorry she lost her mother. No child should grow up without a parent. With that, Blackstone walked back to the house where his family waited. Owen retrieved his revolver, holstered it, and made his way back to where Rusty was tethered. As he rode back toward Cheyenne, Owen felt lighter than he had in years. The burden of constantly looking over his shoulder, of wondering when Blackstone's men would finally catch up to him, it was gone. He was free to return to Clearwater, to Lily, and to Viola. The thought of the schoolteacher brought a smile to Owen's face. Her quiet strength, her devotion to Lily, her surprising insights all had made an impression deeper than he'd expected. Owen touched the wishing stone in his pocket, thinking that perhaps his wishes might come true after all. Owen reached Clearwater 4 days later, riding into town as the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the main street. Children were just being released from the schoolhouse, and he reined in, watching as Lily emerged with a group of girls her age. She spotted him almost immediately, her face lighting up with surprise and, could it be, joy? She said something to her friends and then ran toward him, stopping a few feet from Rusty, suddenly shy. "You came back," she said, as if she couldn't quite believe it. Owen dismounted, kneeling to be at her eye level. "I promised I would." Lily studied his face. "Did you take care of the bad man?" Owen nodded. "I did. He won't be bothering us any more." A smile broke across Lily's face, transforming her solemn features. Without warning, she threw her arms around Owen's neck, hugging him tightly. "I knew you'd come back," she whispered. "I wished it on another wishing stone." Owen held his daughter close, his heart so full it felt like it might burst. Over her shoulder, he saw Viola emerge from the schoolhouse, her eyes widening at the sight of them. "Miss Porter," Lily called, breaking from Owen's embrace. "My pa came back, just like he promised." Viola approached, her expression a mixture of relief and something else, something that made Owen's heart beat faster. "I see that," she said, smiling at Lily before meeting Owen's gaze. "Welcome home, Mr. Irwin." "Thank you, Miss Porter," Owen replied, standing. "It's good to be back." Later, after dinner at Viola's house when Lily had gone to bed, Owen and Viola sat on the porch as had become their custom. The night was clear, stars speckling the vast Wyoming sky. "I didn't expect you back so soon," Viola admitted. I feared, that Blackstone would kill me." Owen finished when she faltered. "Yes," Viola said simply. "You took a terrible risk confronting him directly." Owen nodded, looking out at the night. "I did, but it was necessary." He told her about the confrontation at Blackstone's ranch, about the unexpected turn it had taken. "So it's truly over?" Viola asked when he'd finished. "The danger?" "Yes," Owen confirmed. "Blackstone's given his word, the feud is ended." Relief softened Viola's features. "I'm glad, Owen, for Lily's sake and for yours." "And for yours," Owen ventured, watching her profile in the dim light. Viola turned to him, a question in her eyes. "Mine. These past weeks, getting to know Lily again. It's been one of the greatest gifts of my life," Owen said. "But getting to know you has been unexpected, a blessing I didn't anticipate." Color rose in Viola's cheeks. "Mr. Irwin, Owen," he corrected gently. "Owen," she acknowledged. I'm not sure what you're saying." Owen took a deep breath. "I'm saying that when I faced Blackstone, when I thought I might die, it wasn't just Lily I was thinking about, it was you too." Viola's eyes widened. "We've known each other such a short time." "Sometimes that's all it takes," Owen said. "To know you've found someone special." Viola looked away, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "What are your plans now?" she asked, changing the subject. "For you and Lily." Owen accepted the deflection, understanding her caution. "I've been thinking about that. The sheriff's position is open. Mayor Thompson approached me yesterday, asked if I'd consider taking it." "And will you?" Viola asked. "I'm considering it," Owen said. "It would mean staying in Clearwater." "Giving Lily stability, letting her continue at the school." He paused. "Letting her stay close to you?" Viola glanced at him. "She's grown attached to me," she acknowledged. "So have I," Owen said softly. Viola's breath caught, but she didn't respond directly. "Lily needs stability," she said instead. "After losing Sarah after your absence, she needs to know she won't be abandoned again." "I know," Owen agreed. "That's why I want to stay, build a life here." He hesitated, then added, "I was hoping. That is, I wondered if you might be part of that life." Viola finally turned to face him fully. "Owen, this is very sudden." I'm not proposing marriage, Viola, Owen clarified, though the idea wasn't unwelcome. At least not yet. I'm simply telling you that I care for you. That I admire the woman you are, the way you've cared for my daughter, the strength you've shown, and I'm asking if you might consider letting me court you, properly. A smile touched Viola's lips. Court me? That's very formal. I'm trying to be a gentleman, Owen said, smiling back. Is it working? Viola laughed softly, the sound warming Owen's heart. Perhaps. Her expression grew serious again. Owen, I do care for you, more than I expected to, but Lily must come first in any decision we make. I agree completely, Owen said, which is why I suggest we take things slowly. Let Lily adjust to having me back permanently before we complicate matters. Viola nodded, looking relieved. That seems wise. She hesitated, then added, in the meantime, I would not object to being courted. Owen felt a surge of joy. Does that mean I can call on you? Perhaps take you to dinner at the hotel restaurant next Saturday? I would like that, Viola said, her smile returning. Very much. They sat in companionable silence for a while, the night air cool around them. Finally, Owen said, You were right, you know. About what? When you told me how to talk to Lily. Start with hello, she'll do the rest. It was the perfect advice. Viola's smile widened. Sometimes the simplest approaches are the best. Indeed, Owen agreed. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand in his. Hello, Viola Porter. Her fingers curled around his, warm and steady. Hello, Owen Irwin. And in that simple greeting, in the connection of their hands beneath the vast Wyoming sky, Owen felt the beginning of something new and precious, a second chance at happiness, at family, at love. In the months that followed, life in Clearwater settled into a rhythm that became increasingly comfortable for Owen, Lily, and Viola. Owen accepted the sheriff's position, earning the respect of the townspeople through fair dealings and quick resolution of the few conflicts that arose in the small settlement. He purchased a modest house near the center of town, with a bedroom for Lily and a small garden out back where they planted marigolds in Sarah's memory. Lily blossomed under the combined attention of her father and Viola. The solemn, reserved child gradually gave way to a more confident girl who laughed easily and excelled in her studies. She divided her time between Owen's house and Viola's, seemingly content with the arrangement. Owen's courtship of Viola progressed slowly but steadily. Their Saturday dinners at the hotel became a tradition, followed by walks along the creek or, when the weather turned cold, evenings by the fire at Viola's home, discussing books or the day's events in town. Occasionally, they included Lily in their outings, the three of them riding to a nearby lake for picnics or attending church socials together. By Christmas, 6 months after Owen's return from confronting Blackstone, the gossips in Clearwater had largely accepted that the sheriff and the schoolteacher were a couple, though no formal announcement had been made. On Christmas Eve, Owen, Lily, and Viola gathered at Owen's house for a special dinner. Snow fell gently outside, blanketing Clearwater in white. Inside, a small pine tree stood in the corner, decorated with paper ornaments Lily had made at school and candles that cast a warm glow throughout the room. After dinner, as they sat by the fire, Lily presented them each with gifts. She'd made a carved wooden star for Owen and a knitted scarf for Viola, her first attempt at the craft. These are beautiful, Lily, Viola said, wrapping the scarf around her shoulders despite its uneven stitches. Thank you. Owen pinned the star to his shirt. Fine workmanship, he praised, making Lily beam with pride. I have something for you too, Pa, Lily said, her voice suddenly shy. She handed him a folded piece of paper. Owen opened it to find a drawing, a simple but recognizable depiction of their house with 3 figures standing in front. A tall man with a sheriff's badge, a girl with braids, and a woman in a dress holding books. It's us, Lily explained unnecessarily. Our family. Owen looked up, his eyes meeting Viola's over Lily's head. Her expression mirrored his own emotion, surprise, tenderness, and a question. It's perfect, Lily, Owen said, his voice rough. The best gift I could have asked for. Later, after Lily had gone to bed, excited for the morning when she would find the new books and doll Owen had purchased for her, he and Viola sat close together on the sofa, watching the fire. She sees us as a family, Viola said softly. I'm not sure if I should be concerned about that. Owen took her hand. Why would it concern you? Because, Viola hesitated, because we haven't defined what we are to each other, not formally. I worry about Lily getting her hopes up only to be disappointed. I see, Owen said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. I had planned to wait until tomorrow, but perhaps now is the right time after all. Viola's eyes widened as he opened the box to reveal a simple gold ring with a small pearl set in the center. Owen. Viola Porter, he said, taking her hand, these past months have been the happiest of my life. You've helped me reconnect with my daughter, find my place in this town again, and opened your heart to me in ways I never expected. I love you, and I would be honored if you would become my wife and officially a part of our family. Tears shimmered in Viola's eyes. Are you certain? She whispered. This is what you truly want, more than anything, Owen assured her. Lily adores you, and I can't imagine my life without you in it. Viola smiled through her tears. Then yes, Owen Irwin, I will marry you. Owen slipped the ring onto her finger, then leaned forward to kiss her a gentle, tender kiss that held the promise of their future together. From the doorway came a small gasp. They turned to find Lily standing there in her nightgown, eyes wide with delight. I knew it. She exclaimed, running to throw her arms around both of them. I knew you were going to ask Miss Porter to marry us, Owen laughed, pulling his daughter onto his lap. You're supposed to be asleep, young lady. I was too excited, Lily admitted. She turned to Viola. Does this mean I can call you Ma now? Viola exchanged a glance with Owen before answering carefully. If that's what you'd like, Lily, I would be honored. But I want you to know that I'm not trying to replace your mother. Sarah will always be your Ma, Lily nodded seriously. I know. But I think Mama would want me to have someone to take care of me, and she'd like you a lot, Miss Porter. I think so too, Owen agreed softly. Your mother would approve. The three of them sat together before the fire, Lily nestled between Owen and Viola, the snow continuing to fall gently outside, covering Clearwater in a blanket of white that seemed to promise a fresh start, a clean slate for the new family. Owen and Viola were married in the spring, when the prairie bloomed with wildflowers. The entire town turned out for the ceremony, held in the small church where Viola taught Sunday school. Lily, radiant in a new blue dress, served as the flower girl, strewing petals down the aisle before Viola made her entrance. The bride was a vision in a simple ivory gown, her auburn hair adorned with a crown of fresh flowers. When Owen saw her walking toward him, he felt his heart might burst with happiness. The hard years of running, the loneliness, the fear all seemed to fall away as Viola's hand slipped into his before the altar. After the ceremony, the town gathered for a celebration at the newly built community hall. There was dancing, food prepared by every household in Clearwater, and more goodwill than Owen had ever experienced in his life. As evening fell, Owen found himself standing on the porch of the hall, taking a moment of quiet amid the festivities. Viola joined him, slipping her arm through his. Happy, Sheriff Irwin? She asked, her eyes twinkling. More than I deserve, Mrs. Irwin, he replied, drawing her close. I never thought I'd have this again, a family, a home, a place where I belong. Viola rested her head against his shoulder. Life has a way of surprising us, she said. 4 years ago, I never imagined I'd end up in a small town in Wyoming, teaching school and falling in love with a former gunslinger. Owen chuckled. When you put it that way, it does sound unlikely. The best stories often are, Viola said. From inside, they heard Lily calling for them. Pa. Ma, Mr. Thompson is about to make a toast. Owen and Viola exchanged a smile at Lily's enthusiastic use of her new name for Viola. They turned to go back inside, but Owen paused, drawing Viola back for a moment. You remember the first piece of advice you gave me?" he asked. "About talking to Lily. Start with hello, she'll do the rest," Viola quoted. "Best advice I ever received," Owen said. "It led me back to my daughter, and it led me to you." Viola stood on tiptoe to kiss him, a kiss full of promise and belonging. Then, hand in hand, they rejoined their wedding celebration, surrounded by the community that had become their home and the daughter who had brought them together. In the years that followed, Clearwater continued to grow, as did the Irwin family. A year after their wedding, Viola gave birth to a son they named James after her father. 2 years later, a daughter, Sarah, named for Lily's mother, joined the family. Lily, now a teenager, embraced her role as big sister with the same serious dedication she brought to her studies. Under Viola's guidance, she had developed into a gifted student with a particular talent for writing. Her stories, often based on the frontier tales Owen shared with the family, won praise from her teachers and neighbors alike. Owen remained sheriff of Clearwater, watching with satisfaction as the town prospered and grew more civilized with each passing year. The railroad came through, bringing new settlers, new opportunities, and occasional new challenges for the local law enforcement. Viola continued teaching until the birth of their second child, after which she focused on raising their growing family. She never lost her passion for education, however, and founded a small library in Clearwater, housed initially in a corner of the general store but eventually moving to its own building as donations of books and money poured in from appreciative townspeople. Life wasn't without its challenges. The harsh Wyoming winters sometimes tested their resilience. A drought one summer threatened the local ranches, and there was the year when a diphtheria outbreak swept through the town, taking the lives of 3 children and leaving the community shaken. But through it all, the Irwins remained the heart of Clearwater, Owen providing justice and protection, Viola fostering learning and culture, and their children embodying the future of the frontier town. On a warm summer evening, 15 years after Owen's return to Clearwater, the family gathered on the porch of their home, now expanded to accommodate their larger family. Lily, 24 and recently returned from 2 years of study at a women's college in the East, sat beside her father, showing him her latest story. "It's about a lawman who leaves his family to protect them from danger," she explained, only to return years later and find love again with a strong, independent woman who helps him reconnect with his daughter. Owen raised an eyebrow. "Sounds familiar." Lily smiled. "I've changed the names and some of the details, but yes, it's inspired by you and Ma." She glanced toward Viola, who was rocking baby Sarah while James, now 14, practiced his roping skills in the yard. "Do you think anyone would want to read such a story?" Lily asked. "I think," Owen said, placing his hand over his daughter's, "that stories of love and redemption never go out of style, especially when they're true." Lily squeezed his hand gratefully. "I've been offered a position at a ladies' magazine in Denver, as an assistant editor. They're interested in publishing my stories." Owen felt a mixture of pride and wistfulness. "Denver's a long way from Clearwater." "I know," Lily acknowledged, "but I'll visit often, and who knows, maybe one day I'll come back for good. This will always be home." Owen nodded, understanding his daughters need to make her own way in the world. "We're proud of you, Lily. Your mother would be too, both your mothers." Lily's eyes glistened with tears as she hugged her father. "Thank you, Pa." Later that night, after the children were asleep, Owen and Viola sat together on the porch swing, watching the stars emerge in the vast Wyoming sky. "Lily's leaving," Owen said quietly. "Heading to Denver to work for a magazine," Viola nodded. "She told me yesterday, asked for my blessing." "And did you give it?" "Of course," Viola said. "She's a grown woman with a remarkable talent. The world should have the chance to read her stories." She squeezed Owen's hand. "She'll be fine, you know. We raised her to be strong and independent." "I know," Owen agreed. "It's just, I missed so much of her early years. Sometimes it feels like we've only just found each other and now she's leaving again." Viola leaned her head against his shoulder. She's not leaving you, Owen. She's just following her own path, and she'll always come back. Owen wrapped his arm around his wife, drawing comfort from her wisdom and her presence. I'm a lucky man, he said, to have found you, to have this family, this life. Viola smiled up at him. We're all lucky, she said. Life gave us a second chance at happiness, and we took it. As night deepened over Clearwater, Owen Irwin held his wife close, listening to the sounds of their home, the creaking of the porch swing, the distant howl of a coyote, the soft breathing of their children sleeping inside. From the fearful, running man he'd been 15 years ago to the contented husband and father he was now, it was a journey he could scarcely have imagined. Start with hello, he murmured, remembering Viola's advice that had changed the course of his life. She'll do the rest. Viola looked up, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Hello, Owen Irwin, she whispered, echoing their first real conversation on this very porch so many years ago. Hello, Viola Irwin, he replied, bending to kiss her beneath the Wyoming sky, grateful for second chances, for the healing power of love, and for the family they had built together on the frontier.